36 seconds isn't a lot of time to understand you're dying, but it's enough to notice the stupidest details. The grout line by my fridge is cracked. The ceiling paint needs touch-ups. The last thing I ever tasted was banana spinach vanilla, because I put my faith in a smoothie and the protein powder my best friend Elizabeth swore by. New brand, she'd chirped yesterday, handing me the matte black tub like it was a gift. So clean. You'll love it. I did my routine: scoop, scoop, blend, drink, post a smug, back on my health grind, story like a clown. 3 sips in, my tongue felt fizzy. 6 sips in, my stomach lurched like an elevator with a snapped cable. When I stood up to Google, sudden allergy adult, the kitchen tilted left. I remember my phone skittering under the cabinet. I remember the taste turning metallic. Then the floor came up like a friend with bad intentions. According to the ER paperwork I later read with shaking hands, my heart stopped for 9 seconds in the ambulance. According to Mike, my husband, he held my wrist and begged God like they were old friends, which is rich considering they only talk when the Wi-Fi's out. According to me, I died with laundry in the washer and a browser tab open to best diffuser oils for winter, which is not how I pictured my grand exit. They saved me. They said rat poison, a phrase you think belongs in fairy tales or shady restaurants, not inside a woman who alphabetizes her spice rack. While I lay blinking at the fluorescent lights, a detective asked what I'd eaten. I said smoothie. I said protein powder. I said my best friend gave it to me. He nodded like a metronome and took the container. Here's the part where you expect justice. Lab work. Handcuffs. Confession through tears. Instead, the detective came back 2 days later with a shrug that smelled like hospital coffee. The container was clean. No residue. No prints except mine. No trace on my blender, my glass, the ice tray, the bag of spinach. The cameras in our building? Unfortunately offline for maintenance. They closed the case with an apologetic brochure about moving forward after a traumatic event. I pinned it to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a croissant and stared until my eyes burned. People sent flowers. Someone I barely know from Pilates sent lilies even though I'm allergic. I sneezed until my ribs hurt and took it as a sign I was cosmically stupid. Elizabeth came with soup and tears. Pen, I'm so sorry. What if it was the almond milk? I've heard stories. She hugged me like she could wring the poison out. Her perfume smelled like gardenias and something too sweet underneath. Mike hovered, pale and frantic, his phone face down for once. He kept repeating, "You scared me. You really scared me," like fear could erase facts. Little things started piling up like lint. The tub of powder had a hairline crack in the foil seal I swore I hadn't made. The neighbor across the hall, who definitely shouldn't have our spare key, knocked, by mistake, to return it. A courier delivered a box of gourmet truffles to Penny Lopez, with no sender, and when I called the company they said the order came from a prepaid card at a kiosk 2 blocks from Elizabeth's office. I didn't eat the truffles. I put them in the freezer like evidence in a TV show I wasn't qualified to star in. At night, I woke to Mike scrolling in the dark, screen glow slicing his face. "Work," he said. His thumb moved too fast for emails. When I rolled toward him, he flinched and kissed my forehead, the careful kind of kiss you give glass. Everyone told me to be grateful. I lived. Miracles happen. Fresh start. But I felt like a house where someone had jimmied the window. You can latch it, you can nail it shut, you can hang a pretty curtain, and you still hear wind. The police closed the file. I opened a new one, on my laptop, in my head, in the quiet spaces between heartbeats. I wrote one sentence and stared at it until it felt like a vow. Someone I love tried to kill me. I found the secret phone because I married a man who hides things in tidy places. The charger was coiled like a sleeping snake inside the box for our wedding flatware, the set we never used because Mike says silver tarnishes like a bad mood. I was hunting for thank you cards when the box rattled. Under a napkin, an old iPhone blinked to life like a guilty conscience. 4-digit code. I tried our anniversary, it laughed at me with haptic thumps. I tried his birthday, no dice. I put it down, told myself I wasn't that person. Hours later, insomnia made me that person. I noticed the smudges on the screen traced a weird pattern, like someone with muscle memory. 0-6-1-4, June 14th. The day I miscarried last year. It opened. I sat on the bathroom floor, the same tile where my heart had stalled, and let the phone tell me the rest. There were hundreds of messages from E, but I didn't need the tiny profile photo of Elizabeth's Labrador to know. It started before the miscarriage. Months of hotel receipts disguised as client dinners. Photos of toasts in low light. Then the tone sharpened. She's spiraling again, from Mike. I can't do this forever. Elizabeth, you're not. We'll find a way out. The phrase returned like a chorus. Way out. Way out. Way out. Some threads were practical, domestic ugliness. Remember the powder, Elizabeth texted one Tuesday. He replied with a thumbs up and a selfie of the matte black tub on our counter, my pink dish towel photobombing. I dropped the phone. Picked it up with fingers that didn't feel owned by me. Scrolled more. A voice note from Elizabeth, you said the cameras are down. That's the universe. We move now. In the background you can hear clinking glass, a bar, or a kitchen. My kitchen? I replayed it until I heard the tiny hum of our refrigerator, a note so familiar I could have sung harmony. Every fourth message mocked me without using my name. She's so dramatic. She'll blame hormones. She won't even taste it. My favorite? She makes death look messy. I laughed out loud, an unhinged sound that bounced off the tub. The mirror didn't reflect me, it reflected a woman peeled to nerve. Then the spreadsheet. I almost admired its audacity. A shared Google sheet called Future Budget, color-coded. Rent for a condo near Elizabeth's office, line item 4, travel, a column labeled LC payout. I clicked the note. Life insurance, HR confirmed $500K after 2 years married, we hit 2.5. Mike's comment, beneficiary, me. We'll switch to trust after. A calendar invite appeared in the thread, titled Yoga, location, a motel off I-5. The attachments were, not yoga. Unexpected detail, a draft email to my mother, from me, sat in the Notes app, I'm fine, I just need space, going to a retreat, no phones. It was dated the morning of the smoothie. A goodbye I never wrote. Also, in photos, there was a screenshot of a prepaid shipment label addressed to me for a box of truffles. Just eat one, Elizabeth had typed with a winky face. Insurance paperwork followed, an email chain from Mike's HR rep scheduling the policy increase the week after my miscarriage, when I couldn't stop crying long enough to read my own mail. I found the text that ended all doubt while my hands shook so hard the screen blurred. Elizabeth, 2 nights before I died for 36 seconds, I know you're scared. But think of it, the money. The quiet. Just us. Mike, she deserves someone who can love her better than I can. Elizabeth, then let her go. I threw up, quietly, like a secret. Then I cleaned the sink because rage in me still does chores. I took photos of everything. I airdropped and emailed them to an address I'd created in college and forgotten, pen throwaway at a domain no one uses. I used his face while he slept to open his banking app and saw a $3,000 cash withdrawal the day before. In the Reminders app, a list, buy gloves. Wipe seals. Smile. At 3:07 a.m., the phone buzzed in my hand. Elizabeth, are you up? A second later, thinking about our way out. The screen kept lighting like a lighthouse for shipwrecks. I watched until dawn painted the grout line I'd meant to fix. I didn't wake Mike. I didn't scream. I walked to the kitchen, poured the truffles into the trash, and then pulled them back out with tongs and sealed them in a Ziploc like forensic TV taught me. The police had closed their file. My husband had opened a spreadsheet. My best friend had kept a running commentary on my life as if it were a show she wanted cancelled. If they wanted a way out, I would build them a maze. There's a strange calm that comes when your heart's already broken and your blood's already poisoned. After that, nothing feels quite as lethal. I woke the morning after I found the messages and looked at Mike like he was a museum exhibit, something to study, not something to touch. He smiled sleepily, kissed my cheek, and said, "You okay?" I almost laughed. I told him I was better. That the therapy was helping, that I was finally moving on from the poisoning. His shoulders relaxed. He hugged me, murmured that he'd been so scared to lose me. I hugged him back and thought, you already did. Over the next weeks, I became the ghost of my old self, cheerful, distracted, apologetic. I deleted the files from my laptop, after backing them up twice to encrypted drives and a hidden folder in the cloud. I learned how to smile at Elizabeth without showing teeth. I asked her to come over again for girls' nights. I even let her blend another smoothie in my kitchen. She thought I was an idiot for trusting her again. I wanted her to. Meanwhile, I started rebuilding. Every morning I ran. At first, it was just to exhaust my anxiety. Soon, it was to train control back into my body. I learned how to shoot at a local range, told Mike it was for stress relief. He thought it was cute. He even joked that I'd better not shoot him someday. I smiled and said, "Only if you deserve it." He laughed, not realizing how close to the truth he was. At home, I started setting traps, digital ones. Spyware hidden in a family calendar app, location trackers disguised as Find My Permissions. Within a week, I knew where they met, what they bought, and how often Mike lied about late work meetings. Elizabeth still texted him from her office bathroom, lines like, "She's so fragile lately," and "You have to act normal." I acted better than normal. I cooked his favorite dinners. I watched his favorite shows. I let him believe he'd been forgiven. He bragged to his friends that our marriage was stronger than ever. I took pictures of every gift receipt, every ATM withdrawal. I even recorded his half-asleep murmurs. Once, he whispered her name. I whispered mine back just to see if he'd wake. The more I learned, the less I wanted to hand it all to the police. There's no justice system for betrayal. No sentence that matches being murdered by people you loved. I didn't want them jailed, I wanted them undone. Then one night, while Mike snored beside me, I checked Elizabeth's work laptop through the spyware connection. I didn't expect much, maybe gossip, maybe invoices, but what I found made my pulse spike. A folder titled Clinic Inventory Adjustments, dozens of spreadsheets listing prescription meds, painkillers, and antipsychotics. Missing doses. Skipped serial numbers. I knew enough from the news to recognize the pattern. She was siphoning pharmaceuticals from her job at a health research firm. I stared at the screen, my reflection ghosting in the black corners. For the first time since the hospital, I smiled without faking it. This wasn't just a betrayal anymore. This was leverage. I deleted nothing, copied everything. That night, I created a fake email, then a fake LinkedIn profile for someone named Liam Carter, a generic but charming businessman in pharmaceutical logistics. I stole headshots from a stock website, gave him an MBA, a clean smile, and a vague backstory that would appeal to a woman who wanted admiration disguised as secrecy. It took weeks of quiet preparation, fake texts sent through encrypted apps, social media footprints, a professional-looking trail that could survive casual Googling. When it was ready, I stared at Liam's profile picture, blue suit, kind eyes, the opposite of Mike, and whispered, "Let's see how you like being played." That night, I kissed my husband's shoulder and whispered, "Good night." He mumbled something sleepy, and I watched the slow rise and fall of his chest, the chest of the man who'd once planned my death, and I thought, I hope you dream of her, Mike. Because I was about to rewrite both of their nightmares. I made Liam with the patience of a gardener and the patience of a grifter. He had a LinkedIn, a tasteful Instagram, a Twitter that posted thoughtful threads about supply chains and good scotch. I bought a used suit for a photo shoot, staged smiles in a coffee shop with a sympathetic stranger behind the camera, and doctored the image until his jaw looked like it belonged to someone who'd never hurt a fly. I wrote him a bio that hinted at losses and second chances: widower, quietly, ex-consultant, building ethical logistics for health. Vulnerable, useful, plausible. Then I introduced him. A casual connection request. A compliment on a post. Elizabeth liked one of Liam's comments about a white paper, which gave me a DM about supply chain headaches. Her replies were polite at first, curious, then amused, then receptive. I kept my voice warm and precise. Liam was always slightly earnest, never crude with anyone's weaknesses. He was the sort of man who noticed small kindnesses and catalogued them like treasures. The months blurred. Work stress, shared articles, late-night talks that drifted from logistics to childhood pets to the way lavender smelled like summers in her mother's garden. I gave her empathy he couldn't. I asked the questions Mike never asked and listened the way a surgeon listens for a murmur. She sent pictures of her office plant and complained about a colleague. I sympathized. I sent supportive voice notes, and she sent back confessions. I recorded everything. The first real crack in Elizabeth's armor came not from romance but from hubris. She bragged, at 3 a.m, half asleep with a bottle of wine, about fixing an inventory spreadsheet for a trial run. It's an art, P. It's like moving chess pieces you can't see, she whispered to Liam. She described finding unlabeled vials, slipping a few into a lab coat pocket like a child stealing candy. She laughed about the powder she'd given me, and how it fizzled the first time, so she dosed it properly the next. I felt the room tilt around me. For a second I couldn't breathe, the ceiling fan blurred into a halo and my fingers, usually steady, trembled over the keyboard. Then I did something I'd never done. I let myself be the monster I'd been practicing to become. I coaxed. I asked about the how. She obliged, voice cracking, because lovers confess to lovers without fear of counsel. She told me about the foil seal, about switching the tub for a fresh container she'd bought at a kiosk, about the clean wipe down she did afterward. She described Mike's calm, how he'd whispered, "Once she's gone, we can actually breathe." It was a voice note, raw and unedited. Her confession was tapestry and scaffold, names, dates, times. She even laughed about the truffles. Worth it, she sniveled. I let it play twice, then 10 more times until her words fossilized in my mind. Unexpectedly, the plan hit turbulence. A hacker with a vendetta against fake LinkedIn's flagged Liam's IP to my email provider. My heart dropped as I watched Liam get temporarily suspended. Panic made me clumsy. I fumbled for backups, used secondary proxies, and invented an emergency, temporary travel. Elizabeth, embarrassed and oddly protective, texted me, Liam, her apologies. Her concern reeked of affection. She didn't suspect a thing. Another shock. My neighbor's toddler found one of Liam's business cards in my recycling and gifted it to his daycare teacher, who posted it on a fridge. For 3 days I imagined the world collapsing into coincidence. Then Elizabeth sent me a photo of the card posted on a corkboard, circled with a heart. She wrote, "Someone thinks you're real." Her trust grew bigger than her caution. She sent a picture of her palm, trembling, captioned, "I can't stop thinking about how easy it all was." I answered as Liam, gentle, encouraging, offering help to find a less messy way out. She replied, "I told Mike tonight." He cried. 2 weeks later she recorded herself drunk and contrite, saying to Liam that she needed to come clean, but she wanted to do it later, in a way they could control. That was the moment the trap tightened. She wanted a controlled confession. She couldn't have known that control was the one thing I intended to take from her. Months of artifice, a hacked profile, a daycare teacher's pinboard, and a drunken voice note later, Elizabeth had handed me the rope she thought would bind someone else. Instead she'd knotted it herself and tossed it into my hands. When the message came, "Liam, I did something bad at work," I almost laughed out loud. She wasn't confessing to the poisoning this time. She was panicking about a missing shipment of painkillers she'd diverted for a friend. I could practically smell her fear through the text bubbles. "You can tell me anything," I typed back, heart steady as glass. "We'll fix it." She sent voice notes instead, half sobbing, half whispering, every word a new thread in the news she didn't realize she was weaving. She admitted she'd been stealing pharmaceuticals for months, selling some online to pay off her boyfriend's emergency debts. She never said Mike's name, but she didn't have to. I knew the shape of his shadow by now. She even bragged about how clever she'd been, changing inventory codes, scrubbing delivery records, borrowing staff logins. I thanked her for trusting me. Then I downloaded everything. The next morning, Liam Carter sent an anonymous email, complete with time-stamped evidence, to the HR department of her company. The subject line read simply, "Urgent, employee theft and drug diversion evidence." I attached the files, then deleted every trace of the alias from my computer. By noon, the explosion had begun. Elizabeth called me, well, Penelope, crying. "They're investigating me. Someone tipped them off. They found missing samples." Her voice shook like a glass ready to crack. I played my role, sympathetic, confused, pretending not to know anything. She rambled about maybe quitting before they fired her. Within 48 hours, the inevitable happened. Her company suspended her, then escorted her out. She texted Mike from her car. I know because I watched the messages pop up on the spyware log in real time. "Mike, you need to stay calm." "Elizabeth, they're calling the police." "What if they trace it?" "Mike, they won't. Just, don't talk to anyone." "Elizabeth, I'm done, Mike. I can't keep living like this." I don't know if he even replied. The next day, he came home early, face gray and drawn, and said, "Elizabeth's having a breakdown." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted iron. A week later, he dumped her. Cold. Efficient. Like deleting an app. She called me that night, hysterical, voice slurred from cheap wine. "He left me, Pen. He just left. After everything I did for him." She sobbed into the phone until she hiccuped. I let her. I listened. Then she whispered, "You were always the better one. I see that now. He loved you, you know. Not me." I almost laughed. Then she said it, the final crack, the one I'd been waiting for. "It wasn't supposed to go that far. It was just to scare you, to make you leave him. He said the dose would only make you sick." I let silence stretch until she whimpered, "Pen, are you there?" "Yes," I said calmly. "I'm here. You believe me, right?" I smiled, though she couldn't see it. "I do, Elizabeth. I really do. But I think you should know something." "What?" I lowered my voice until it was almost tender. "Liam Carter isn't real." There was a heartbeat of silence. Then a strangled laugh, the kind people make when they're hoping it's a joke. "What are you talking about?" "I made him," I said. "He was never real. Every message, every voice note, every confession, that was me." Her breath caught like a hiccup that never ended. Then came a choking sound, rage, shock, grief, blended into something wordless. "Why?" she finally managed. "Because you tried to kill me," I said softly. "And you failed." She screamed. I hung up. By morning, she deleted every social media account. The local paper ran a small story that week, "Pharmaceutical employee charged in theft and data tampering scandal." Her mugshot didn't even look like her, puffy eyes, hair unwashed, mouth sagging like she'd bitten into something rotten. I printed the article and folded it into my journal between two blank pages. It looked like closure. But I wasn't done yet. Not until Mike paid his price. When Mike came home that night, the house smelled like lemon cleaner and resolve. He dropped his keys into the bowl by the door, same as always, and said, "You look nice." I did. I'd spent an hour making sure of it, simple black dress, no jewelry, hair tied back. Not the Penelope who trembled in hospital beds, not the ghost who smiled through betrayal. This version of me looked like someone who already knew the ending. I poured him a drink. Meet. We need to talk. He hesitated, sensing the temperature shift in the room. Okay, what's wrong? I placed a manila folder on the table between us. Inside, printed screenshots of the affair, his messages to Elizabeth, the spreadsheet, the life insurance policy, and a USB drive containing her voice confession, the one where she described the poison. His eyes flicked to the folder, then to me. What is this? He asked. Everything, I said. And your last chance to make it right. He laughed, a short, nervous bark. Pen, come on. This is crazy. You. Sit down. He did. Slowly. I told him what I knew, every detail. His throat bobbed, his hands shook. When I played Elizabeth's voice through my phone, Mike said the cameras were down. That's the universe. He went pale. She's lying, he stammered. She's trying to drag me down with her. She's already down, I said flatly. And I don't need her to drag you. I can do that myself. Then I slid the second folder across the table. Divorce papers. I had them drawn up 3 weeks ago. You sign everything over to me, the house, the savings, the car. You keep your pension and whatever's in your personal account. You don't contest. You don't ask questions. You don't call me. In return, I don't go to the police. He stared at me like I'd grown horns. You can't. I can. And I will. He stood up, tried to tower over me, the old intimidation trick. I didn't flinch. You think you can ruin me? He hissed. I smiled, slow and deliberate. You already did. I'm just finishing the job. He deflated. It was almost pathetic, the way arrogance seeps out of a man when he realizes he's not in control anymore. Pen, he said finally, voice softening, I messed up. But we can fix this. We can. No. I cut him off. You don't get to say we anymore. He dropped into the chair, head in his hands. What do you want from me? The truth, I said. For once. He looked up, eyes wet. I didn't mean for it to go that far. She said it would just make you sick. I swear to God, I didn't think. Stop. My voice broke through his like glass. You thought enough to increase my life insurance, to write that fake email to my mother, to plan a retreat that would make me disappear. You thought enough to pick the day. He sobbed then, actual, shuddering sobs. It should have moved me. Once, it would have. But now it only made me cold. I realized, as I watched him crumble, that revenge wasn't fiery at all. It was quiet, clinical. It didn't feel good. It just felt done. Sign the papers, I said. He hesitated. And if I don't? I leaned forward, letting the chill in my voice carry the weight of everything he'd stolen from me. Then you'll be signing something else, your confession. He signed. His signature trembled like the last thread of his power snapping. I gathered the papers, slipped them into my bag, and stood. We're finished, I said. You'll hear from my lawyer about the rest. When I walked out, I expected my heart to pound, my hands to shake, my body to scream at the enormity of what I'd done. Instead, there was silence. Just the sound of my heels on the hardwood, the faint echo of a life finally closing behind me. Outside, the night air bit my skin, and I realized something simple and terrifying. I didn't want forgiveness. I didn't even want peace. I wanted power. And for the first time in my life, I had it. Elizabeth's downfall had been public, but her desperation was private. The first time she called me from jail, I didn't answer. The second time, curiosity got the better of me. Her voice came through the receiver cracked and trembling, like a broken radio. Penelope, she whispered. Please. They're saying I could get 10 years. They're saying I'm dangerous. I didn't respond right away. The sound of her panic was satisfying, in a quiet, clinical way. You are dangerous, I finally said. They think I did it alone, she said. Mike, he told them it was my idea. That he had no part in it. You know that's not true. He used me. He said he couldn't live without me. I loved him, Pen. I really did. Her voice cracked on that word, loved, like it was poison in her mouth now. I closed my eyes and leaned back. You made your choice, I said softly. You mixed the powder. You handed me that container. She started sobbing. If you'd seen the messages, he manipulated me. He promised we'd be free. He said you'd ruined him. Please. You could testify, say I was coerced, just that part. Maybe they'd go easier on me. Elizabeth, I said, and she went quiet. You called it a miracle when I lived. I heard you at the hospital. You told Mike it must be a sign. You know what I think? I think it was. She inhaled sharply. A sign? Yes, I said. That I was meant to watch you both fall. I hung up. Mike tried next. He came to the house, the one he'd signed away, and stood on the front step like a beggar. I saw him through the glass door. His hair had gone gray at the edges. His eyes were hollow, skin paper thin with guilt and fear. Pen, please, he said when I opened the door. I can't sleep. I can't eat. Every time I close my eyes, I see you, on the floor, dying. I didn't let him in. You should, I said. He tried to smile, the same soft smile that used to undo me. I made a mistake. I thought I could fix things with her, but... You tried to fix things by killing me, I said, my voice sharp enough to draw blood. That's not a mistake, Mike. That's murder with extra steps. His face crumpled. Please. I'm begging you. I'll tell the truth. I'll confess everything. Just don't send me to prison. I'll lose my job, my pension, my life. Good, I said. For the first time, I realized I'd become exactly what they thought I never could, merciless. He stared at me for a long time, his lower lip trembling. Then he whispered, "Who are you?" I didn't answer. I closed the door. That night, I sat alone in the living room surrounded by silence. The house felt too big, too clean, too still. The satisfaction I'd imagined, the justice, the triumph, it never came. Revenge doesn't fill the space where trust used to live. It only echoes. I looked at the evidence on my desk, the printed messages, the voice recordings, the insurance documents, and for the first time, I didn't see proof. I saw ghosts. The old me, still lying on the bathroom floor, whispering for help. But I wasn't her anymore. When the police came 2 days later, I met them at the door. I have something you'll want to see, I said, handing them the folder. The detective's brow furrowed. Is this about the poisoning case? Yes, I said. And the people who did it. I told them everything, Elizabeth's confession, Mike's messages, the fake identity I'd used to get the truth. Every word. When I was done, the detective just looked at me. You understand you could be charged for entrapment, for impersonation, for withholding evidence? I understand, I said. But I also understand what they did to me. He nodded slowly. We'll be in touch. As he left, I felt something break, not like glass, but like chains. For the first time in months, I could breathe without bitterness. Elizabeth and Mike would soon face the law. But me? I was done fighting shadows. I had one more thing left to do, make peace with the ghost in the mirror. The trial was faster than anyone expected. My evidence, Elizabeth's voice recordings, Mike's texts, the forged emails, and the insurance documents, painted a picture even the best defense couldn't scrub clean. The courtroom buzzed with journalists. The words, smoothie poisoning case, trended for weeks. Elizabeth tried to plead diminished responsibility, blaming Mike. Mike tried to claim ignorance, blaming Elizabeth. In the end, their love turned to venom on the stand. Each word they threw at one another only deepened their guilt. When the verdict came, the air felt electric. Guilty. Both of them. Conspiracy and attempted murder. Mike got 12 years. Elizabeth, 15. As they led them away, Elizabeth turned once, eyes hollow, mouth trembling like she wanted to speak, but I looked straight through her. Mike didn't even try. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted my name, asking if I felt vindicated. I didn't answer. Justice wasn't loud. It was quiet, steady, final. When the doors closed behind them, I felt the first true silence I'd known since the day I almost died. The house felt haunted, though they were both gone. I sold it within a month, along with every piece of furniture that carried their ghosts. I donated most of the money to a shelter for women starting over, packed 2 suitcases, and moved to Redmond. There, no one knew me as the poisoning victim. I became just Penelope, a woman who liked black coffee and morning rain. I started therapy, wrote about my story, and tried to let the words bleed the poison out. But healing wasn't tidy. I still flinched at the smell of vanilla protein powder. I still checked locks twice. Sometimes I woke from dreams where Elizabeth was standing by my bed with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Then one morning, a letter came, postmarked from the Women's Correctional Facility. Elizabeth's handwriting. I'm sorry. I loved you, in my own broken way. I read it once, then again, then burned it in the sink. Forgiveness wasn't something I believed in anymore. But survival, that I could live with. Sometimes I think back to the woman I was, the one who made smoothies and trusted too easily. She died on the bathroom floor that morning, along with her naivety. The person who got up afterward isn't innocent anymore. She's sharper, quieter, still learning what peace feels like. People call me brave, but bravery isn't what kept me alive. It was instinct. Survival. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't see the victim or the avenger, I just see someone still standing. Someone who knows she can't undo what's been done but can choose what comes next. And maybe that's enough. I walk every morning through the misty streets of Redmond, breathing in air that finally feels mine. I don't need revenge. I don't need forgiveness. I just need to live.